Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm just checking in because I'm doing what me and my sister called Puerto Rican enchiladas. It's not a traditional recipe from Puerto Rico. It was not created over there. Nobody knows nothing about it over there. It was just that we added our Puerto Rican flavor to it, and so we named it, or my sister named it, Puerto Rican enchiladas. And she taught me this when I was like 8, 9, 10, somewhere around there. It was so delicious, and I just always loved it. When I was able to cook it, which I cooked it, and it was the only thing until this very year that I started learning how to cook big time that I ever even cooked anything, was that, other than simple box stuff like macaroni and cheese, and I could cook some fried chicken, stuff like that. But that was the very first thing for many years that I knew how to cook. And then through the years, I added my own touches to it, and my creations, and my flavor to it. So I even made it more Puerto Rican, because what I'm adding now is the sofrito, which is the famous top one Puerto Rican seasoning. And so she never added the sofrito. She just did other things that made her feel it was Puerto Rican, maybe because she was Puerto Rican and she was cooking it. So this is really becoming Puerto Rican. So I'm just going to show you how I cooked it. You know, like I said, I've been learning how to cook since maybe the end of last year, little bits here and there, and this year I went full force, and now I know how to cook so good and so much. My mother would be proud of me from heaven. But I never had a desire or really a passion for it, because when I was young and I wanted to learn, my mother said, you know, be honest, Carmen, I don't have the patience, because I cook really fast and it's a lot. And I don't have measurements. I can't tell you cups, spoons, pinches. I just throw it all together and it comes out perfect, because I've been cooking since I was a little girl, and she had me at 46, so we're talking 50s and her 60s. And so she said, just enjoy the food, and if you want to wash some dishes afterwards, perfect, but don't worry about it. And then I was fortunate enough, I've been married twice, to have two husbands that knew I didn't know how to cook and was very much okay with it and accepted it, and they knew how to cook really good. Of course, my first husband was Salvadorian, so he cooked his type of food. My second husband is Mexican, of 27 years, and so he's even a way better cook than my ex-husband, because he can cook Puerto Rican, Mexican, American, you know, anything. He's just that good of a cook. And my thing is, I gotta kind of turn it here real quick, but yeah, so yeah. So that was never something I had to worry about in either marriages. My first marriage only lasted 3 years. It felt like 30, because it was very, very, very abusive, mentally, physically, and emotionally. That's not what this video is about, but I have to make sure that that is said. But one thing that was something that we didn't fight about, that never came into a picture in any type of abuse, was food. God forbid, when he already knew and accepted it. But and if he would have been willing to teach me, I would have been willing to learn at that time, even though cooking was never my passion. But I would have been willing to learn. I knew how to do box stuff like macaroni and cheese. I could cook some cooler fried chicken, but it was very, very minimal. Like I said, I didn't have the desire, the passion. I would try to learn here and there through my life, but nobody had the patience or the will to teach me. So I just went on that way, and it wasn't to the end of last year that I started cooking stuff, different stuff, but bits and pieces here and there, and I stuck with very few recipes. And it was the beginning of this year that I just went full force, and now I learned how to cook so much and so good that people that knew me from when I was young would say, what in the world? Carmen would never be the one that I would ever think would be a bomb cooker, an awesome cooker. Not bomb like explosion, just in case somebody gets it twisted. Would be like an awesome cook. And it's true though. And I put a couple of things on YouTube. I'm really wanting to get a camera so I don't have to hold my cell phone or my tablet, where I can really show you the different things that I've learned how to cook. But this was, like I said, a recipe that was handed down from my sister since I was little. I don't know what made her call it Puerto Rican enchiladas. Maybe because she was Puerto Rican and she invented it to cook it with certain meat, a certain way. But I really made it Puerto Rican. Like I said, it's not anything typical, traditional, or even known in Puerto Rico. It was not invented, created. Nobody's ever eaten it in Puerto Rico. But like I said, my sister probably named it that because she invented it, and she's Puerto Rican. She's very Boricua. We don't have a relationship now. We never will. It's a long story. But you know, I give credit where credit is due, and she's the one that began it. Now, I really made it Puerto Rican because I've added sofrito to it. I do my normally basic seasonings, and then I add the sofrito. And what I'm doing now is, this is the meat. So it's just pretty much hamburger meat. And then, like I said, you just do your basic seasoning. So I do the salt, garlic powder, some pepper, and usually seasoning salt. I didn't put in seasoning salt today because I have sazon, which is a special Puerto Rican seasoning, and the sofrito, which is bell peppers, onions, the sazon, garlic, oil, and coriander. So, and that makes a sofrito, which is, let me show you what sofrito kind of looks like. Sorry, I'm bending down to my refrigerator, which this is. Let me turn around. It's a jar that there was something else that was actually cactus, nopales, and I clean them out very good, and I use them for other things. And I have a labeler, so I put Puerto Rican sofrito right there. And so I make it and I save it. Usually lasts me a week. If I put it in the freezer in cubes, it'll last me longer. So I put 3 spoons of that on each side because I'm using a 5-pound thing of hamburger meat. And so I season one side, put the 3 spoons of sofrito, mix it all up, turn it over, do a few more spreads of the seasoning, 3 more spoons of sofrito, mix it up, then put it in my pot, which turns out to be this. And then I buy my tortillas, which is flour tortillas. I usually do each package, which is a 20 count. It's the soft taco tortillas, and I have 2 packets of those. Trying to keep it in the camera. Then the sauce that I use is the enchilada sauce mix, which is Mexican. So I put a little bit of Mexican in there, but our sauce, our seasoning mixed together is the sofrito. So I guess you can actually call it really is Puerto Rican flavor and seasoning, but with an add little touch of Mexico. I'll say that. So, and I just love the green sauce. I don't really care for the red sauce. So this is Las Palmas green chili enchilada sauce. You can do any brand. It doesn't have to be that brand. They're not sponsoring me. As long as it's your favorite green sauce. Or if you want to make it spicy, you could do a more spicier sauce. And then what I do is the olives. So I chopped olives and onions together in my shredder right here. This is a shredder that I use. So I put it in there. My handle always drops off. I don't know why. It's not broken. But yeah, I put oh, come on, stop it. The olives and the onions chopped up in big chunks, and then I turn it around with this, and it becomes, I'll do that later. It becomes this right here. So that's onions and olives chopped together. Now I'm going to grate some cheese, and I'll be back to show you. So I'm going to show you what cheese I use. I use the Kobe and Monterey Jack mixed together. So it's actually just not this size. I just cut it in half. It's like a big old block of cheese. So this is just half. There's another one of these sizes, half, that's mixed together, which is that right there. See how it's a whole block of cheese? So I cut it in half. I might use all of it, but I'm going to start off with half. And I'm going to grate it and put it in that dish. Be right back. So I just grated a quarter of it. It takes long to grate the cheese. This is just 1/4 of half of that block. So I got, this is much more to go at least. I'm going to try to not have to use the other half, but I might have to use another quarter size of that other half to save something. To save some cheese for another recipe. It really takes just half of this block, but because I bought a big size, I can use some extra, because sometimes I'm like, oh, at the end trying to add a little bit more cheese and going to the end. So I bought a big size just in case I need an extra. So I'll let you know what I end up using. So hang on. Okay, I'm back. So I finished grating the other part of that half of a block cheese. It obviously will not fit in my tray right there because I used two of the extra sections that this tray had. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep it in this bowl. So I don't know if you can see that. So now I just checked on the meat. The flavor is really good, except I feel like it needs a little bit more salt. So, I'm thinking of putting one of these packets of sazon and see if that will help it a little bit. So the sazon packet did the trick. To me, excuse me. I would normally think even I could still use a little bit even more salt, but the sazon helped it to give it a little bit more seasoning flavor. But I'm not going to add any more salt because the trick here is the salt. The cheese will add salt to the recipe, and so will the enchilada sauce mix will add more salt. So I don't want to over salt it and then add those ingredients, and then it'll be like, oh my god, disastrous. So I don't want to take a chance. It will balance out if anything. So, and this is how the meat is looking. So I'm ready to go ahead and drain it in a few minutes, and I'm going to add 1 can. I already opened the sauces. I'm going to add 1 can of sauce, mix it to the recipe, and then start dipping my tortillas in oil, and then start getting them ready. So I'll be back. So I've added most of the can of this in the meat, and so it looks like that. And it tastes good. It's starting to balance it out. So see what I mean? And that's that we haven't even added the cheese yet. So you got to be kind of careful when it comes to salt. Make sure you have your salt. It might even be better to do seasoning salt. I didn't have seasoning salt today, but that's okay. At the end, I added the sazon, which is seasoning salt. What it is the sazon is this. It's called sazon Goya, and it's used by Puerto Ricans. It's a unique seasoning with cilantro and achote, which is annatto, coriander and annatto. And it's like the best thing. On a lot of my recipes, I'll put 2 packets because I usually make for a big family. But in this case, I wanted to be careful because I still, like I said, had to add the enchilada sauce and I had to add the cheese. So I felt like it needed some more seasoning, but not so much salt yet. And this kind of covers all the bases. So I love this. This is only I got this for $1.35 at Big Lots. But they're a little bit more at Walmart. They're $1.58, but they also have the big packages, which are like 4 something, which is like the double, almost the triple of this size. You get 8 packets in this. So if you're interested, so far that I know, Walmart and Big Lots sells it at $1.35. Right now, Walmart sells it at $1.58. So I'm gonna start getting my tortillas ready, and I'll be back. I'm back. I have to pause this because I don't have no one to help me hold the phone. I should get my stand thing. Maybe I'll do that. But I'm started the pan with oil. As soon as it warms up, I'll start dipping the tortillas. It's just a quick dip. It's not to really deep fried or anything. Just enough to give it, to kind of bathe it in oil and sort of warm it, cook it, however you want to call it. And then just start putting all the ingredients in and form the enchilada shape or the burrito shape. It kind of looks like a burrito shape, but it's more like enchilada. So, and I'll be back with that. So now I'm going to do the tortillas. I'm going to dip, so this is about the size of the tortilla. I'm going to dip it in the oil. And it's pretty much, like I said, to warm it up, not really to cook it. But because you don't really cook tortillas, they're already made. You just have to warm them up. And you either put them on just a regular dry pan, or you put it in this. I'm going to lower my stove to about 3. I have the electric stove because, and I put it in my drainer. So when it comes out, which is like this, it comes out puffy like that. So I just lean it against the drainer to release as much grease as possible, and then I just continue on doing that with each tortilla. And I'm going to do all 40 because this will be enough meat and stuff to do all 40. And it's just enough. You just flip it over a couple of times on each side, and then you take it out of the oil. Looks like, kind of shake it off a little bit. Looks like that. And then you just lean it up against the sides, and I usually create like 3 sides. And then when it's all done, then I put them in a pan that I'm going to bake it with, because at the end, once I put all the ingredients, wrap the enchilada up, I'm going to put it in the oven for like 15 minutes so that the cheese that I'm going to spread, that I'm putting in the middle, in the inside of it and spreading on top of it, will melt, and it'll be your enchilada, Puerto Rican enchilada like that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all of these, and then I'll be back.